is an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Unspoiled, covering The Dark Tower, Book 7, The Dark Tower, Part 2, Chapters 9 and 10. In these chapters, it looks like Sheemie isn't going to be able to be their little teleportation conductor forever. And why does King just have to keep doing this to me? With people that I like. Just have fucking Dinky be the guy. Kill Dinky. Nobody gives a shit about Dinky. Welcome to Unspoiled.
Seriously, nobody cares about you, Dinky.
Nobody likes Dinky. He's a dick.
I mean, he's fine, but I don't, care about him.
He's not fine. He is a shit stirrer.
I like that.
You know? Yeah.
Speaking of...
it's not like he's...
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry.
No, you go.
I was just going to say, it's not like he doesn't have a perfectly valid point sometimes, but just like there is a time and place, and there's a tone. And he doesn't have either the understanding of good context or tact, and he doesn't know how to phrase things so that they don't come across as super condescending.
You know what I like about Dinky? I like that Dinky, it seems like he's there, essentially, to show us how far Eddie has come since we first met him.
Wow.
Because, there are comparisons between the two directly made in these chapters.
Yeah, I suppose so. But why does Eddie only get to be the one?
What do you mean?
Why do we only get to see, how far he's come? What about everybody else?
Well, I mean...
What's special about Eddie?
I mean, I don't know that other characters don't do that, but, and I don't think that's necessarily, why Dinky was just put in the story, but I think he's kind of... when they have that conversation together, you kind of get a sense that, this guy's being kind of sarcastic and kind of an asshole and kind of clueless, and he's talking about breaking, you talk about being a junkie, and he's doing all these things, and it's just and the way Eddie responds to it is very gunslingery, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm not saying there's a specific reason for it. But that's what struck me about Dinky in these chapters, to the extent that anything struck me about him.
The thing that I like about Dinky is that he's named Dinky, so he doesn't get any dignity. So I'm a big fan of that.
I love that Eddie tries to give it to him, and he's like, "No, it's fine."
Yeah, he's resigned at this point.
Which, man, I'd be like, "No, Richard is great."
So, alright, so let's start at the beginning of this chapter, because guess what? Turns out Roland is completely aware that they were being watched.
Yeah. I was going to say real quick, speaking of shit stirrers, what's her name again?
Oh, ha! I see what you did there.
Yeah.
I'm Natasha.
And I'm Miles, and I definitely don't start shit at all, ever.
Oh my god. You guys, Miles... Every post and every comment on anything could be immediately followed with the "that's bait" gif from Fury Road.
That's not true. That is not at all true.
100% true.
No, it is not.
Owen couldn't even tell a heartwarming story about Superman today without you being like, whatever, I fucking hate Superman anyway. Nobody cares, Miles.
I care.
We're all having our hearts warmed over here.
Look.
So if you're going to be a cold, old, angry man...
Which I am.
With your gruel and your nightcap and your old friend Jacob Marley who tried to help you in his chains...
Fuck that guy.
In the corner. You are the shit stirrer. You and my friend Candace. Candace is listening. Hi, Candace.
Hi, Candace.
You know you are. I love you. She totally is like nodding her head going, yeah, you know what? She's right. The two of you are definitely the people who come up on a thread and you're just like, yeah, everything everybody said here is wrong. I hate this whole thing that you all love. Here's why. I'm out.
I mean, okay. Look, I'm not going to say you're wrong. But I am going to say that you know, I feel like with Owen it's a little bit easier for me to jump in there and do it. Just because we have such... I love talking to Owen about nerd shit because we have such different opinions about everything. So it's... When
Owen asked me who I was recording with tonight and I said Miles, he said, oh, tell him he's wrong about everything.
Dude, okay. So
just, you know, passing along that message.
Okay, well, I'll keep that in mind. There was a conversation on Facebook in the Smash Fiction Facebook group the other day where it came out that I hadn't seen Logan yet, right? And
right.
And Krista really wanted me to watch Logan, and like we're like organizing a thing now where I'm gonna like watch Logan and review it. But like the first thing, I didn't even fucking say anything yet. The first, like before I had even commented on the thread, Owen comes in there and he's like, "Dude, you don't want Miles to watch Logan. He'll just shit on it. And you'll hate it."
He's not wrong.
He is wrong. I won't do that.
No, he's not wrong. See, the thing about you, Miles, is that
here we go. Okay.
You are a contrarian. You are, albeit on a much smaller scale, a little bit of a Kanye West.
Whoa.
Hold on for a second.
Okay.
And a little bit of my grandma.
That is more acceptable.
My grandma, when George W. Bush was in office, was like, impeach this asshole, fuck this guy, la la la. And then once Obama was in office, she started watching Fox News, and Obama wasn't a citizen, and she went from being a rabid liberal who was going down to protest in D.C. to suddenly being like, all these protesters these days, obey your country. Like, whoever was in power, she was like against them. And I feel like you have this thing where if most people tend to love something, you go into it with a mindset of, well, I have to find something wrong with this.
See, that is actually not true. That is the thing that I dispute. Because there are like... I definitely don't go into things that are popular looking for reasons to dislike them. Like, I honestly don't. I often find them. Like, I'm really good. I'm susceptible to a lot of different things, and I tend to see, like, political messages and everything, so I'll form really strong opinions. And I form very strong opinions about things very quickly. But I definitely don't go in looking to, like, not have a good time or looking to find something wrong with something. Like, the fact that people think that about me is the product of the character I play on the internet sometimes, and less about who I actually am.
I mean, I would love to believe you, Miles.
Okay.
But I would argue that this is something that you aren't even able to really be objective about when you talk about yourself.
I at the risk of... Okay, look... At the risk of tooting my own horn, I am a somewhat self-aware person, and I'm usually pretty aware of my flaws. So,
oh my god! You know how I got read so hard the other day by my therapist?
Oh, really?
Because I was talking about how people who listen to the show will often like message me or leave reviews saying how open I am about a lot of like really personal stuff.
Yeah.
And how they really appreciate that I can talk about certain things that are uncomfortable and like be somewhat self-aware about stuff. And you know what she fucking said?
What'd she say?
She was like, yes, well, you're really good at pretending to use words to be vulnerable when in fact using them to distance yourself from other people.
Ouch.
Boom!
Ooh.
I was like, I just sat there for a second, just like, my mouth was just hanging open. Like, it didn't even occur, and she just said that shit. And I was like, that is exactly what I fucking do. I just talk, and I'm like, yeah, this is me being really open, when in fact it's me keeping people at arm's length, using language.
Wow.
It's all a giant charade.
I mean, look, if you want to go into the neuroses that I do have, then like that'd be a whole other podcast.
We don't have time for this.
That'd be
all
a whole other podcast. I was trying to start us off with a joke about stirring shit. It backfired on me because I am indeed the shit stirrer. So so let's launch in. Let's jump into to the part where I like things. I don't know. Maybe we'll see.
Oh God. Well, now that you've brought up that maybe you like something, I'm going to bring up a tweet that we got. We actually got a series of tweets today.
Oh, did we?
From somebody who goes by the name Jeremy Slagoff. And he was saying that he really loves this show, but that this particular book series is so precious to him, and like he grew up waiting for each new book to come out and was so deeply invested in it that the fact that we are finding so many problems with it and hating on it so much is breaking his heart a little bit. And he said that he's not even like in disagreement with what we're saying necessarily. It's just that, what I'm trying to find the exact, he said, I've just never heard such criticism on it, so I guess I'm just a little butthurt.
No, and that's...
Which, I feel.
Dude, like, we all have things that we grew up loving for whatever reason, and, and we don't like to hear criticism of them, especially because, like, so frequently, and this is something that I experience a lot, so frequently the only defense you really have is, like, well, I grew up with it. Like, this was a big part of my life.
Right.
And so, yeah, I understand that it sucks, and I think, I wonder sometimes how different this podcast would be if I had grown up with the Dark Tower. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, it would be a really interesting thing, because as everyone listening to this presumably knows, like, when we started this show, I hadn't even finished the series.
Right.
It took me until fairly recently to finally finish the last book, and so... Not only was I, especially coming in these last 3 books, not only was I not coming in from a perspective of, I should say neither of us were coming in from a perspective of, it was important to us growing up, but we're both, as it turns out, reading these books with a critical eye.
Right.
Especially the last 3, because I knew that I was reading it for the show, so I'm paying attention. I'm trying to find things. I'm really kind of examining it. And I think that was a big driving force behind my enjoyment of Song of Susanna, was because Song of Susanna made me stop doing that. Like, when we finally got to it and did chapter by chapter, like, obviously we had to slow down and examine stuff, and a lot of stuff didn't work. But when I was first reading it, it was the book that made me just totally forget that I was doing it for a podcast and just kind of really drew me in. So, yeah, I mean, it's just going to be different depending on everybody's experience, and I totally understand, Jeremy, and I'm sorry. But all we can do is look at it and tell you how we feel about it, and that doesn't mean we're right. That's just how we feel about it.
Yeah, I mean, like, I said this before, I don't want people to think that me attacking this is an attack on them. And I don't get the impression that he felt that way, the way that he was phrasing things. But I know what that's like, to, like, really have enjoyed something and then listen to someone tear it apart and to realize, like, you know what, they're not wrong, but it's just a bummer. Because there's no way around it.
Yeah.
I had that a little bit recently when I was listening to, and I don't remember what show it was, but they were reviewing Little House on the Prairie. Mm-hmm. I think it was Little House on the Prairie, which was a book, like the whole Little House series I was in love with and read them like crazy over and over again. But there is some really like ugly racism in there that I had completely forgotten about. And understandably, they focused on that.
Right.
And there was a big part of me that was like, oh my God, there's so much more to this book than that. Can we not just like zero in on just that?
Yeah.
But also, it was valid, and it's not like sweeping it under the rug is for somebody who has an investment, an emotional investment in the book, like me from childhood. But somebody who's coming at it now, they don't have that. And so they're not going to be as interested in doing that.
I remember when I first saw the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie, and I was, I'm a huge Marvel guy because that's really unpopular, so I have to like it. But you know, I'm a big MCU guy, and so I saw Guardians, and I loved the shit out of it, and I saw it a couple of times, and I started reading all the reviews, and because that's kind of what I do when I consume a movie that I really like, is I read everything about it that I can find, because I want to read about it, I want to know about it. And there was a reviewer who, God, I can't remember what the outlet was, but when they were pointing out some problems with the film, one of the things they touched on was that at one point in the movie, Drax, who is the character who speaks, who doesn't know about metaphors, everything is literal, calls Gamora a whore.
Yeah. And
the point of the reviewer was like, that's fucked up, because there's no reason for that character to say that. That's the writers. And I was like kind of up in arms about it, because I didn't want to read any critique of this thing that I really liked, especially not a valid one. And I was with my sister at the time, and I was like, can you believe this shit? And she listened to me, and she was like, no, that's a really good point by the reviewer, actually. I was like, God damn it, yeah, it is. Fine.
Yeah, Drax is the character that both Owen and I are like, they just don't know when to quite pull back with him. I feel like Infinity War, they managed it, finally. But
they kind of went away from the whole everything is literal thing, which I thought was good.
It's like, but then they were like, oh, let's have him talk about how Mantis is like hideous and pretend to vomit for way too long.
Yeah.
They always have to make a joke at the expense of a female character with Drax, and it's just kind of frustrating.
Totally understandable.
But yeah, so anyway, Jeremy, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to blow up your spot at all, but I just wanted to address it because like most people who have been listening to the show have been pretty much like in agreement in a lot of ways with what we've been saying. And I knew that there had to be somebody out there who was just like, come on, guys. But I wasn't hearing from anybody. So I appreciate, Jeremy, you coming forward and saying something, because I just wanted to address it. Because I know there has to be more than just Jeremy out there, but they're just not interested in like starting anything. So, but yeah, like Krista in the Discord chat for the patrons, she said, I'm abso-fucking-lutely glad you were angry about Walter. If you'd met him more often in other King books, it was such a massive betrayal for me. And there wasn't a corner of the internet that I knew that I could turn to. This is so cathartic.
Right.
And she says, and Miles is wrong. The first time King fans come across Crimson King is insomnia, Miles. Insomnia. She wrote it in caps.
Of course, I know she did. I could hear the caps. Krista, I'm not reading Insomnia. You can't make me. It's not happening. That book is fucking boring, and I have no desire to revisit it.
I don't think it's that she wants you to read it again. I think she's just like, you read it, but you don't remember
it's just
how.
a thing now.
And James Paul Johnson actually says, I like the tangent about how great it was in The Shining when Dick gets walloped after traveling all that way, because King didn't do that. That was a change Kubrick made for the movie. I was absolutely shocked when I read the book and it didn't go down like that. So my whole thing about like, why couldn't we have done this? Well, it's because King doesn't do things that way, but I thought he did because I watched a movie.
Right.
A movie that King hated, which is quite telling, because it was a great fucking movie. Sorry, King. Your judgment is off sometimes. It's just, you keep on affirming this to me.
I actually didn't finish Insomnia. I don't know if that was clear, but I never finished it, so I don't think I ever got the Crimson King reference, because it takes literally 5 million pages for anything to actually happen in that book.
That's how.
And by literally, right, I mean figuratively.
I am not going to belabor the point, but we all know how I feel. So,
all right, so 15 minutes ago, you tried to get us started, and now we can actually do that.
Yeah, let's do this. So, this chapter, well, these two chapters are a lot of table setting. Because, basically, we're all talking amongst ourselves and amongst the crew about what has to happen. So, yeah, let's start off with the fact that, like, Roland knows about this thing fucking spying on him.
So the first chapter is basically just one scene with Roland and Jake, where they talk for a while, and then Roland shows Jake Mordred's tracks.
Right.
And
which must look real creepy. Like, those are some tracks I would be fine with never seeing.
Yeah. So Roland knows, and seems really unconcerned.
Right, yeah.
And Jake is kind of less unconcerned, shall we say.
Yeah, Jake is almost concerned that Roland is unconcerned. Like, he seems to be like, why are you... This isn't fine. What? Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, basically it's just, Roland's like, look, we're being followed. Don't tell anybody because they'll freak out. And, keep your mind shut, basically, if you can.
Right.
I mean, that's basically, like, I don't know how much we want to talk about this whole chapter, to be honest, because, like, it's a good chapter. Like, I really enjoyed it, rereading it. I like the relationship between Roland and Jake. I really enjoy, I think Jake's jealousy of Mordred for being Roland's actual son is kind of adorable.
Right? Yeah, that was a good little character moment.
Yeah, and I guess the main takeaway from their conversation is that Roland is fucking pissed off at Stephen King.
Yes. Yeah, so he calls him lazy.
Yeah, he says he's lazy.
I'm sorry, guys, if you can hear something crazy happening. There's a tree branch that rubs up against the screen of my window right here, and it is really windy tonight because it's going to hail, and it sounds like there's somebody basically, like, putting their mouth up against the glass and going... a couple times. So if you hear some weird shit in the background, that's a branch. But yeah, I really like, is this King's baggage? Like, it's gotta be, right? Him just being like, yeah, I was just fucking lazy. I was supposed to be writing this thing and it was too big and it was too hard.
So I decided to do easier things. Which,
yeah.
Look.
Welcome to my life, buddy.
Yeah, outside the context of King's story apparently being the key to saving reality and the universe and everything. I should have said life, the universe, and everything, but it's fine. Outside of that context, like, I'm not sure there's a huge problem with somebody being like, man, this thing that I'm trying to write is really hard, and I'm going to try to write easier things. Like, that doesn't... As a character trait, that doesn't really bother me. Unless it's, unless it's made clear that it's the only thing you can do to save all of the worlds. So, like, as a character, King as a character, I'm like, yeah, fuck you. Like, you were told, like, these two dudes showed up at your house. I don't care if you remember it or not. You were straight up told this is important, and you should write your shit. And, like, I love Roland's explanation, because he says, he looked at the job he was made to do, and it daunted him. And he said to himself, all right, I'll find an easier job, one that's more to my liking and more to my abilities. And if there's trouble, they'll take care of me. They have to take care of me, and so we do. So, like, that's shitty. Somebody shows up and is like, hey, you exist to write this thing, so go write it, otherwise we're all gonna die.
Right.
And you don't do it, like, even subconsciously, like, that's shitty. But as an actual person, Stephen King, as a writer, I don't fault him at all for it.
No, not at all. This is definitely him faulting himself and feeling like probably... I mean, I deeply understand this. And it's exactly the kind of thing that somebody who's creative would be so hard on themselves for when everyone around them is like, yo, this is really understandable, though.
Yeah.
Like, I just can't... I was very surprised, to be honest, to see this in such a bald manner. Just Roland being angry at him, saying that he's lazy and fucked up, and now we have to go save his ass because he knew that we would.
Right.
And that he could depend on that. And I was like, you know what? Goddamn, he's calling himself out pretty hard here, which I kind of respect. Not calling himself out in the right way in some cases, but you know, he can't be perfect. But yeah, it didn't occur to me that everybody would be pissed at him, but apparently later on, Susanna says she's pissed too. So they've got some bones to pick with this guy. Get it? Because he gets his bones broken. But no, really, they do have bones to pick. It's fair.
What was I gonna say? It was, I don't know. I derailed
that
joke
completely.
just
Sorry.
Kicked that right out of my head.
Lol.
I was gonna say Susanna. It's kind of a weird inconsistency when she thinks about it, because she thinks oh, no wonder Roland was so mad at King when she wasn't there.
Yeah,
and,
that's true.
The fact that Roland is angry at King, at least Jake was surprised. Mm-hmm. Now, Susanna probably understands Roland a little bit more and, gets why he would be mad at King. But, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's just, it's written this way, I think, because they're about to face down this choice, and he wants to make it really clear that, this is not something they should have had to do. And it makes the choice more of an obstacle, right?
Right.
Because it's we feel really angry about this, but we have to take care of it anyway. The only really other takeaway I think we have from this chapter is that Jake is really strong at telepathy, apparently.
Yeah, he breaks down Roland's his defenses.
Yeah.
Handily. It's not even that it's such a challenge for him to do it. It's just a challenge for him to be willing to do that to Roland.
Yeah.
And he has to kind of get past the mental block of just not wanting to kind of hurt him, because he knows it does, and manages to actually, with what seems like not too much effort, just bust that door wide open.
Yeah.
And genuinely startle Roland, who just didn't seem to quite grasp how strong Jake is.
Yeah, he's
this way.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Strong ass shit. Yeah, I had a couple of little minor quibbles again about made up words.
Yo, I highlighted some shit.
Oh no!
Here.
What I was gonna say we should skip over it. What did you highlight? Now I want to know.
So let's see. The first one: Hyle and Mary greet the day. Roland nodded. Mary C, Mary B. The fuck, guys? He can't even let people just say good morning either? It's been 7 books. Can't we just be, done with this kind of shit?
See, I noticed that one, but I was going to let that one go. I was going to let that one fly by.
No! That's the first one.
That's the first one.
Let me pull this up, because that one, came up the quickest, but I don't usually even do this. Highlight stuff when I'm reading on the Kindle app, because I'm straight up irritated by how sensitive it is.
Yeah.
When I try and do so, I just avoid it. But I'm trying to find it now. Let's see. That's okay. Oh, nice! I can just click this thing in all of them. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Instead of making a verbal reply, Roland laid the forefinger of his left hand across a circle.
Oh my god, I was going to talk
about
about
this. Thumb
this.
and pinky of his right. That gesture, which meant, I tell you the truth.
I'm so glad you brought this up, because I wasn't sure if it was being too petty if I brought it up.
What even is he... not only is he acting like we should know this, but he's acting like Jake knows it.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if this has been if they've used this before, then it's just been described as a gesture, and I don't think it was described in this much detail before.
I would remember, I mean, if maybe it is just that it wasn't as much detail, but I tried to make the gesture myself, and it's so friggin' awkward and stupid. Okay. So that's the other one. And then let's see. That one isn't actually something that I had a problem with. It was something I found delightful, which is Eddie Eddie found himself wondering if he had offended the grill, then wondered if perhaps he should kill himself and spare the world a problem.
God, I love that line. We were totally on the same page with this one. I noticed that line too, and I was like, that is fucking great.
I mean, that's me. Like, that's why I could never go to Westworld or something. You know, I would just be like, it's just you're being mean.
I just like you find yourself thinking something totally stupid. You're just like, I wonder if I should just, like, commit suicide to help out the gene pool.
You know? I've been on the edge of doing some shit a couple times that I stopped myself and was like, I was about to lose a hand. What the fuck? I deserved to lose a hand, too. The next one that I highlighted as being like, oh, really, was it had been Jake who'd suggested Sheemie should be the one to tell them which branch to take. At the time, it had seemed like a weirdly good idea. Who knew why? Now, this ties in with the shirt idea that Miles and I came up with.
Yes.
Because, y'all, I'm trying to get some Unspoiled merch going, and you can find what I've got so far under unspoiledpodcast.com/merch. But I was trying to think of some quotes that I could use for the Dark Tower show, because I can make different albums on TeePublic for each show. Well, we definitely want to make a Fuck Kamala t-shirt.
Yeah, for sure.
The other one that Miles suggested, you were much more long-winded about it.
As I often am.
My version, it was his idea, but I made it more succinct. And this would just be written across the front of the shirt with no context, so only you all would understand. He didn't know how he knew he should buy this shirt. He just knew. And that's going in there. It seemed like a weirdly good idea. Who knew why?
My version was, later, after all that followed, they wondered what it was that made them put on that particular shirt that day. Perhaps the inexorable force of Ka at work.
Honestly, because yours has Ka in it, it might be a better choice. I might do both. See what people buy.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, that it had seemed like a good idea. Who knew why?
It's like he's going back and explaining something he wrote like 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. Like, it's like, man, I have no idea why I wrote that Jake should suggest that Sheemie make the decision as to where to go. I guess I should, like, throw together a quick bullshit explanation for that. Only it was the last chapter!
Only it's not even an explanation. I guess I should do an explanation. No, I'll just say it was weird. And then the last one. He wept, said Sheemie. He said if the torture were to stop now, I might still recover. If never my looks, then at least my strength. My Kess, Jake said. And although he'd never heard the word before, he pronounced it correctly, almost as if it were kiss.
Yep.
Like, if it's supposed to be that Jake is taking that out of Sheemie's mind because Sheemie knows that word, just say that. Let me know that.
No, it's not that, though. I feel like it's really...
I don't think it is either.
Yeah, I feel like it's really...
I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt here, though, Miles.
That's fine. I think it's part of the thing that he's trying... It's part of the whole fate, fucking twim, fucking... like, just everything is connected and we're all part of the story and we know shit. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So yeah, I get that one. You missed one that I had caught, though.
Okay.
So it's actually toward the end of the first chapter we're covering. I think it's after they find the tracks. And, yeah, it is. And at one point, Jake's thinking about it and just kind of, like, looking off into space or whatever, and Roland says, penny for him, a dimmy-da? What are you even doing?
Oh God, I forgot about that one.
I just don't know. Like, it just sounds silly. Like, Jesus, man, if you're gonna come up with your own fucking language with vernacular, then do it. Fucking, if you're gonna do it, then give us one of those glossaries at the end of the book. You know what I mean? Like, fucking pull the Tolkien or pull the something. Come up with your own damn language. Because you can't. Because you're just like throwing in nonsense words and telling us they mean shit, and we're supposed to just believe you, which I guess fine, but.
It feels almost like he was just like doing a stream of consciousness, like whatever he thought of, he was like, put it in, you know, and not really thinking about how it comes across. But I don't know.
I think it's a really popular theory as to how he wrote these last books.
It's just he threw everything in the pot.
Yeah, is that just like it all kind of went in, and because. You know, I've talked about it before, but both of these, 6 and 7, both came out the same year. Like, when he started, and I think 5 was the year before. So, Wolves of the Kala came out in 03, and both these books came out in 04. So he wrote the last part of this story fast.
Man, that is fast. That's no wonder. Well, all right. So that's what we've got to the bones that we've got to pick.
Yeah, right.
Roland also is aware of Mordred, as I said, and knows who he is also. Which, because we didn't actually get to see the conversation where Susanna tells him everything.
Oh yeah.
I keep forgetting that he knows exactly what the fuck is going on. You know. Mm-hmm. So. He tells Jake basically, well, we know he listened, and we know he's here, and he doesn't know that we know, which is pretty much the best that we can ask for at the moment.
Yeah.
Which I guess is true. You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Roland doesn't know at what point Mordred cut out, I don't think, because we know that he did leave at a certain point.
Right.
But I don't think that's, you know, Roland knows that he was there.
Right. And because Jake is kind of staring around, paranoid, because he's like, he could be right here. He could be coming out right now. But, he says, that's when he says, I think a growing boy needs a sleep. And that's when Jake is like, fuck, shut up.
I'm a growing boy too.
I like to grow. So, yeah. They go back to the cave. Susanna makes some breakfast.
Yep.
They're all hanging out. And this is when our merry little breaker band shows up.
Yup, they show up with Sheemie because Sheemie teleported them there, and then Sheemie starts seizuring.
Poor fucking Sheemie. He's about to chop his own tongue off with his teeth. And he is there, and there's somebody called the Rod.
The Children of Roderick. Remember, he asked them to grab one for him?
I did not remember this. And the way that they don't call him a child of Roderick until, several pages into this scene. They just keep calling him the Rod. So it didn't contextualize it for me for the longest time, and I was so friggin' confused. But yeah, this person is worshiping Roland as if he were a god, falls to his knees and begins to pray and bow, and it's pretty gross in a way. Not that Roland is gross necessarily, it's just really uncomfortable.
That he's bowing to him?
Yeah, you know, because we know Roland, yes, he's a very skilled, one could argue he has superpowers in a way. But a god, you know.
Yeah, it's a weird, because, I still don't... Because the first time we saw a Child of Roderick was when Roland and Eddie were still in New England. Mm-hmm. We're still in Maine. And it was kind of similar. But, I don't really know what the deal is in terms of why they all kind of worship him and why he speaks their language and stuff. I don't feel like that's been expounded upon. I might just be forgetting it, but
that's fair. I don't really understand. Did he say last chapter or last section why he wants this Roderick, son of Roderick? Because I don't remember that being addressed.
I don't believe he did.
They don't say here either, do they?
No, they definitely don't. Roland, like, it basically interrogates him for a while, or, like, questions him. Trying to figure out... I'm trying to go back to where he first told him to go get it.
Yeah, because you don't want to spoil me by accident.
Yeah.
But, while you look for that, I'm going to talk about poor Sheemie.
Yeah.
Sheemie is having tiny strokes, is the theory. Because he is getting broken blood vessels in his eyes that King says makes it look like his eyeballs were sprinkled with paprika, which is fucking horrifying. And that he's, probably busting blood vessels in his brain. And it's postulated that he's got maybe, like, another couple of movements left in him. And by movements, I mean teleportations.
Right. Ted thinks 3 or 4, possibly only 2.
Yeah. And Ted says that it seems like Sheemie got hurt, like the first time this ever happened, was when he helped Ted escape and go get to Connecticut. So that's an interesting, little bit of info there, is like, what caused him... He's able to make doorways into candy worlds.
Yeah.
Outside of time. And that's fine. But when he tries to just bring somebody to Connecticut, it's almost breaks him. Now, is that because of it being the Keystone World? Is it because they don't want him to teleport other people out and, like, they've created some sort of... I have a hard time believing they have any control over that. The Cantuan, the Tahine. So I'm going to say no on that. So I'm going to say it's probably the Keystone World. I don't know.
That makes the most sense to me.
Yeah. So, that's really concerning, because they're meant to, like, go down and bust up the breakers, because Sheemie tells them this story about a dream that he had in which a boy who has had an eye ripped out and is, like, all bloody is lamenting how I love you so much and you keep hurting me.
Yeah.
And they all, and I think correctly, interpret that as the beam speaking to them. And basically decide that, all right, so we know that that's what we need to focus on first and save the beam before we try and save Stephen King.
Yeah.
So they have to go to Algul Ciento, do whatever they're going to do, which I assume is kill everyone.
That's certainly what it seems like from the plans they're making.
And then leave there and go back to the Keystone World and save King. And then come back again? I don't know where they're heading, actually. There's no need for them to go back to Algul Ciento, I guess, after that.
Yeah.
But I don't know what they do after they kill King, or save King. They'd have to go, I guess, to the tower itself, or to wherever the Crimson King is and kill the Crimson King, or I don't know. But there's a lot of traveling to be done, is my point.
Right. Yeah.
So
I went back and I looked at the stuff where he asks them to bring the rod, and he doesn't tell them why he wants him. He just tells them, like, how to make him come, like, with what words and everything. Mm-hmm. And then, yeah, I don't think, like, he makes friends with Oi, which is kind of adorable.
Oh my god. He just keeps doing things to make me love Sheemie more.
Oh yeah, Sheemie's great.
That, like, fucking Sheemie and Oi are probably gonna die.
When, like, Sheemie and Oi and the child of Roderick, like, play together, it's adorable.
Yeah.
It's really cute. I want to know what, like, I'm trying to remember what the deal with these children of Roderick are. Like, if we find out, I can't recall.
Well.
Anyway.
I'm not going to touch that.
Yeah.
But I'll just register my disapproval. So, Yeah, let's talk about what they're planning on doing with the breakers.
Okay.
Because Jake is like, we have to stop them. And he says, like, kill them or stop them as, like, a kind of softening of it.
Right.
But, like, no, you're gonna kill them, though. Like, don't play.
Susanna's choosing her fucking weapons.
Mm-hmm.
I love this stuff because, like, and again, like, it's kind of a scene that indicates how far they've come together, because she keeps kind of expecting Eddie to be like, no, you're not going into danger.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't happen, because Eddie fucking knows better.
Yep.
Which I love that he knows better.
Eddie done learned.
Yeah, and she gets a little bit of Detta Walker in her voice. And it just like, man, when she gets that little bit of Detta Walker in her voice and she starts thinking about how she's going to kill you, and they start talking about, like, how she's going to be on a fucking quad, like, rolling around killing folks, it's terrifying. Like, if I would not want to be on the other side of that. Because I don't know. Susanna is... I see Susanna as kind of the most, like, kind of just straight up badass character of the bunch. Like, Roland is. You know, Roland obviously is just like Hellfire with a gun, but he's a little bit old, he's a little bit creaky, he's only got 2 fingers on the one hand, or 3 fingers or whatever. And, you know, and, like, his personality is not, like, hunter-killer. It's just like, I'm gonna do what needs to be done.
Right, dispassionate.
Right, whereas Susanna, when I really enjoy when she gets into this mode and you're just like, oh shit, somebody's gonna die.
Yeah, she is, I don't know, there's like I said, I find her so fascinating, and it's a shame to me that we don't get to spend more time with her outside of, like, the pregnancy time, which is not about her.
Right.
You know, it's about this weirdo demon baby and the woman who's trying to take over her body. Just wish that there was, like, something more there, or a side story with just her or something. But yeah, I mean, it just, what I wonder too is, like, let's say Sheemie survives. Like, the whole thing is that what Roland has let everybody know while Sheemie's busy playing with Oi is that we are going to keep Sheemie the fuck out of the range of fire.
Right.
And because he, like, picks up a gun and just swings it around.
Oh my god, I forgot about that.
And it
like,
wasn't loaded, thank fuck.
Bada boom. I love the detail where it's like, if it had been loaded, the quest for the Dark Tower would have ended right there.
Right? So they need to keep him safely somewhere else. But the other 2 won't be safely somewhere else. And I can't help but think that they are so indoctrinated that they're going to be like, no, we really want out. We know this needs to be stopped. And then at the last second, they're going to be like, wait, you're killing all our friends. I don't know that that's how they see the people there, as friends. But I feel like there has to be something in place that is going to cause them to... Either they're going to go up against the gunslingers themselves and they're going to get killed, or they're going to get killed by other breakers.
Right.
But they're not coming out of this, is my point. And if Sheemie comes out and is able... And I don't mean, like... I figure Sheemie has to be the one to get them to the Keystone World. I figure he dies when they get there and they have to find a way out. Or the Keystone World is where the Crimson King is, and that they don't need to leave.
Yeah.
But Sheemie's going to probably make it out of that with, like, one first battle, and that's going to be it. Whatever he does next, that's the last thing he does. So those are my predictions on that.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, I don't know what any of that, you know, whether it's true or not. You know.
You know what you need to do?
What's that?
You need to start reading Wind Through the Keyhole.
Oh, fuck.
You need to be spoiled on that shit before we get into it.
You're right. Okay. I will do that someday. Probably after May is over. When my life goes back to a semblance of normalcy and I have money. So, yeah.
Lol. Yeah, let me know how that's like.
Yeah, I will allow you to live vicariously through me after I just shave my nose off with this grindstone that it's about to be driven into.
I like the other day, I was like, after I filed my taxes, I found out that I owe like $2,500 worth of back taxes, guys, because our tax system is fucked and I'm poor, but what does that matter? I still owe crazy amounts of money. I didn't realize that if you are employed by a business, your employer pays part of your federal taxes for you. So when you're self-employed, you get to take on the whole burden, the whole tax burden. I wasn't aware that was how that worked. So now I'm like, oh, no wonder. But I definitely had a moment of like, I can't do any of the like cons or festivals that I wanted to do because I'm too poor to afford the tickets. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to be poor. I'm going to be in debt probably for the rest of my life. So I may as well do this shit. Because it's not like I'm going to get out of debt simply by not spending like $200 on this like plane ticket, $250 to fly Rashawn down. That's not getting me out of debt, but it may help the show and it may help me make more money. So sometimes you just got to take the risk.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I've been trying to live like, okay, I'm going to get myself out of this hole that I'm in. And like, it suddenly hit me the other day, like, why don't I just live in this hole? I'm here. I'll just decorate it and make it nice and just be okay with being in the hole.
Oh my God.
Maybe life is fine in the hole.
God bless America. Good Lord. You know what you should do though? Like honestly, as somebody who's in the exact same boat as you and is dealing with that for the first time this year and like I owe a great deal in taxes right now. You know what you should do? Like whatever your planned like wedding date is, and I get that you're planning the wedding date like because you need to prepare it and everything. Just like get married secretly beforehand. Like do it tomorrow. Because
why?
Because it saved me like $1,000 on taxes.
Oh, on taxes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stroke my chin. Interesting. Yeah, I'll run that by Owen. He doesn't like that though. Like I suggested at one point that we just like get married real like easy and cheap at a courthouse.
Yeah.
And he didn't even want to hear it. He did not like it at all.
I really, really don't blame him for it. Like I understand.
I was just surprised at how vehement he was. Because he like, it wasn't even just, I don't want to do that. He just went, no! Like he was offended that I even suggested it. So, but anyway, sometimes you just have to come to terms with where you're at and, just like be there.
Yeah.
So I'm in the hole. It's fine.
Live in the hole. It's a nice hole.
That'll be the next t-shirt. Live in the hole. And nobody will want to wear it.
Anyway, what were we talking about?
We were talking about Sheemie dying, probably, the predictions that I had, and then you need to read Wind Through the Keyhole.
Oh, yeah, Wind Through the Keyhole. Right, yeah, okay, cool. I can do that. I have that book, like, I own it, so.
Man. I'm trying to think. Oh, and there's another one that's apparently just a short story. And this is one that Jeremy also suggested. I'm trying to find he sent me a piece of artwork that looks crazy. Sisters of Illyria, which is not a full novel, I guess.
Sisters of Illyria?
But it's meant to take place before Gunslinger.
Okay.
So it's like a prequel, but does it count as a prequel if it's not like a whole novel?
I don't know.
Anyway. So, yeah, that's what's going on in terms of things that we'll want to cover after this book is over. And then after that, who knows? I've got this, like, list of shit that I'm excited to cover and want to cover right away and really have to restrain myself because I'm not good at pacing. And I just want, every time a show finishes, I'm like, I need to replace it immediately with a new show. And that's not always the smart way to go, because I also have shows that I cover that are currently running, and when they come back from being like on their off season, I have no space to fit them in to start covering them again, like Legion,
Yeah.
Legion has come back, and I'm waiting for the season to end because Maggie's watching it, and then I'm going to cover it as the unspoiled one for her, but I'm going to need a space for us to do that.
Right.
So I'm kind of, we have talked about a couple possible things that we could do. Also, patrons have voted on something that you had helped me with previously that they would like to return.
Yeah.
So
there'll be a lot coming
guys.
up.
There's
going to be
my
shit
plate
happening.
is full. I mapped out all the stuff that I've got that I immediately want, and it's enough to fill the next 3 years. Easy. So, not running out of content anytime soon.
Nope.
No.
Anything else we want to talk about here?
No, I think that's it for these 2 chapters. Like I said, a lot of table setting.
A lot of table setting. There was one... I think a lot of what's cool about these chapters is kind of the relationships. Roland and Jake and Roland and Sheemie, I think, are kind of the big ones. And then, as I said, I think there's a little bit going on Dinky and Eddie-wise. Not like in their relationship to each other, but like kind of what one says about the other. Oh, and the only other thing I wanted to mention was I love that Dinky's like, they have no idea how easy it is to fool them on this teleporting shit. It's so funny.
Yeah. And that's like, and I'm really glad on that front that King gave us the perspective of the people in charge, because I would be really paranoid that they were getting overconfident and that it wasn't as easy, that they knew somehow and were just like biding their time. But we got to see the POVs, and we know they have like a mild suspicion that maybe they're being fucked with that is fleeting.
Yeah.
And doesn't seem to be something they really take seriously after they first think it. So, yeah, apparently they're right. This is really... It's just like a little disappointing that the bad guys just don't seem to be much of a threat.
Yes.
Yeah,
I understand that.
I just don't feel like I'm not concerned about them going in to try and like, kill all the breakers. Like, they're gonna do it. It's fine. Of course they will.
Yeah.
Because they'll just know somehow exactly where to go.
Oh man, I think that I think something's coming up in the near future that I'm gonna laugh about a lot, because it was one of those moments in the book where I was like, okay, this is the apotheosis of this thing that you do, Stephen King.
Okay.
It is the culmination. I think it's coming in the next chapter. Which, by the way, next chapter is the attack on Algolciento, and I think that should be the only one for the next episode.
Okay, cool. All right, well then I'm going to say hi to new patrons. What's up, patrons? Sup? We got Greg Arnold, Veronica Karolek, Heather M, Maria Korotik. I don't know. I'm sorry, Maria, but hi. Matthias Svensson, Thomas Carver, Kristen Shetwind, Kayla Moriz, and Chess Andrews. All of them became patrons this past week, so welcome to all of you delightful people. Make sure to join the Facebook page that's for patrons, and also the Discord group. And if y'all are wondering how to get to those, if the links didn't work for you for whatever reason, you can go to unspoiledpodcast.com and click the link at on the top bar that says "Want to Talk Spoilers." And if you sign in via Patreon, you will get links directly to the Discord chat and the Facebook group. I've done some updating to the site a little bit and have our methodology on there. I have the merch link up there, which I also mentioned earlier on spoiledpodcast.com/merch. I have contact us, and with like the P.O. box for me, there isn't a listing for any of my co-hosts' address, because I'm pretty sure that none of them have P.O. boxes and that they don't want their like living address just out there. But if you want somebody else's address to send them something, please get in touch with me and I will find out from them what they want to do about that. And then there's the link to the allyship statement, which is basically, just stop being a dick and like everybody and it's fine. And then the Amazon wish list and shopping links. So, yeah, the site, I've been trying to like get things a little bit more organized on there. So that's what's going on with that. And I wanted to let you all know that I am considering creating, and I'm not exactly sure what this looks like, except that at the moment I'm pretty sure, because of my limitations, re my budget, I won't be able to afford to create an app that contains patrons only content, but I'm considering creating an unspoiled app. And if you guys are interested and you think that you would be someone who uses an iTunes or Android app that only has unspoiled content in it, let me know, because this is something that would cost me some money to invest in, and I just want to make sure that it's something people would actually use. And I want to make sure that everyone is clear that it wouldn't contain patrons only content, because it would be everything that is currently on the iTunes feeds for all of Unspoiled. So yeah, just let me know what you think of that idea, whether you'd use it if you're interested. And as I uncover more information about how that would work, I will keep you all apprised of my decisions and the features that would be available and things like that. Yeah, I think that's all I wanted to mention this time around. Miles, take it away.
All right, well, you can find links to me and everything. Well, not a link to me, that'd be weird, but links to everything that I do on my website, mjschneiderman.com. And that will take you to the Smash Fiction Podcast, among other things, which is the show that I do where we basically put fictional characters into competition with one another in cool and funny and sexy contests and argue hilariously about who would win, if I do say so myself. Sexy. It always gets sexy. It's really like we're just bad people. But the most recent episode that has just dropped is Hero Protagonist, the hero and the protagonist of Snow Crash, versus Sombra from the game Overwatch. So that episode just released. We got some fun ones coming down the pike as well as Extraordinary League coming back next week, which is our actual play RPG podcast that we do. We've got more episodes of Collaboratory and Surprise Party, which are sort of the games that we play every so often on the podcast. So a lot of fun stuff happening with Smash Fiction. I'm probably going to be a little bit less of a presence on that show for the next month or so than I usually am. Just because, as I mentioned, I have this insane workload coming up that's going to be very lucrative, but is going to take lots of my time. So I'll be gone for a little while, probably. I might show up here or there, but don't let that... I know you're tempted to let that, turn you off to the show just because I'm not there. Don't do it. The others are great, too. Not as great, but they're still great. And then, yeah, so we've got a lot of cool stuff coming down on Smash Fiction. Become a patron at
You're right there?
No, I'm terrible at this. We actually had, in the most recent episode of Smash Fiction, toward the end, we talk about how we're all terrible at plugging our show. So, anyway, you can become a Smash Fiction patron at patreon.com/smashfictionpodcast. You get access to lots of bonus content. Brand new one just released. 3 of our hosts having a very fun discussion about The Shape of Water.
Oh God, I haven't seen that still.
Neither have I, but they have a great conversation about the ethics of erotica, which is really fun. So that was just released for patrons only. They did The Shape of Water because it was part of a vote that patrons got to vote on as to what they talked about. So we give our patrons a lot of kind of decision making power over the kind of stuff that we cover. So that's a really great reason to subscribe to our Patreon, and find us on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter. We have the Smash Fiction Fan Faction, which is our Facebook group.
Such a good name.
Thank you. We like it.
Such a good name. It's one of those where I was like, damn, I should have given more thought to my name. Mine's like, Clubhouse. No.
I like yours too, though.
That's fine.
Anyway, yeah, and also check out the most recent episode of the Odyssey Storytelling Podcast, which is the show that I edit and produce for Odyssey Storytelling, which is a nonprofit here in Tucson, Arizona, where I live. We have a monthly live show where people tell 10-minute stories based on a theme. And this most recent episode that we just put out was the April show that we did earlier this month, I guess last month now. And it actually features a story by me. So I told a story on this one, and it's really fun. It's the story of how my knee got fucked up because me and my friends were stupid and decided to go to the park and do professional wrestling. So if you want to hear about that...
Wow.
That is the story currently up on the feed for the Odyssey Storytelling Podcast, so check that out. Please give us a review and subscribe. Be really fun. I personally, aside from the live shows that we release every month, I personally select the stories that go out on a weekly basis, and I think they're really great, and I'm just really kind of proud of what we're doing with that. So if you're interested at all in cool people telling good stories, then go check it out. We go over to universesofthemind.com. That's about all I have to say about that. We don't have to talk about it anymore. And then, damn it.
Oh, Owen said that you got interviewed on The Math of You?
Oh, I did. Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
What I've been telling people is that my interview on The Math of You is like 4 people. I'm surprised that Owen listened to that and still thinks that I hate everything. I guess maybe I'm not too surprised.
I'm not sure that he did listen to it.
Okay, cool. Well, fair enough.
Like, he just was telling me about it. Because he likes that show overall, so...
Yeah, there's actually been... We've had, I think, 5 Smash Fiction hosts have appeared on The Math of You now. It's really fun working with Lucas. And, yeah. And so, that episode where he interviews me, I like to think that it's a little bit less hatey on everything. Like, I really would. So yeah, check that out. That's a few episodes back in the Matthew feed, but that's definitely there. I was also recently interviewed on a podcast called Everything is Awesome, which you can go check out. And
right, I forgot about that one.
Yeah, and I think I plugged that one before, but
yeah.
But yeah, Jeff is a cool guy. We had a great conversation on that show. So definitely nothing to say. I definitely don't run a blog called Universes of the Mind, so don't go to that website because there's nothing there. It's just like static. And it'll crash your computer. So
it's the gateway to the deep web. Don't do it, guys. Do it. You'll get arrested by the NSA.
Oh Lord. Yeah, I think that's about it. I think I'm good from there. I think we can put a pin in this one until I finally write something.
I mean, and y'all really if you don't plug stuff, if you've never done this, you don't know how hard it is to plug a podcast. And make it sound interesting, but also not take up a ton of time.
Right.
And it's just, it's really hard.
You hear yourself doing it, and you're like, shit, that wasn't what I meant to say.
Boring.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. I'm not repping well. I can't talk, and nobody wants to listen to a podcast with somebody who can't talk. Because podcast is talking, mostly.
Just go listen to Smash Fiction. I'm really excited about where I think the show is going and the trajectory I see for it right now. So if you do nothing else, then listen to Smash Fiction, and if you do something beside that, listen to the Odyssey Storytelling Podcast. So,
all right, cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, sir, for being here this evening.
Thank you. As always. And
thank you to Kindle for letting me highlight stuff and just go through a list of things that irritated me. Appreciate it.
Holy shit.
MVP to Kindle tonight.
Yeah, absolutely.
And thank you, the listeners, for participating and bearing with us as we, kind of just take jabs at this book series lately. And it may not last forever, or it may. I don't know. I'm the unspoiled one.
I like these chapters, but there were a lot of stuff in there that is like, oh my god.
Yeah, agreed. So we'll see what we think of the attack on Algul Ciento.
Yeah, very interested to see what you think about this chapter.
We'll see you next week, everyone. Toodaloo, motherfuckers.
Unspoiled Network podcast.